Hello, Grace Community Church, and welcome back to our cover-to-cover Bible reading plan. Today, we're looking at the end of Samson's life in chapter 16, and we're going through to the end of chapter 19. Now, we're going to see some interesting things in chapter 17, 18, and 19 that happened earlier in the time of Judges, but they're just sharing these things with us now. But we're also going to see interesting parallels in Samson's life. Now, Samson, again, shows us the moral corruption of Israel and himself, the leaders of Israel, that they're disregarding everything that the Lord had commanded them when they came into the promised land. They are doing absolutely horrible when it comes to obedience to God. So he's wanting to marry Delilah, and the Philistines see an opportunity to overcome Samson. And so they get Delilah. Hey, he's smitten with you. Ask him or tell him to tell you what his secret is for his strength. And so several times Delilah says, hey, what's your secret? Samson tells her something, and then she does that thing, and the Philistines come upon him, and he overcomes them. And then she's like, why did you lie to me? And Samson's like, well, I don't see an issue with why you're asking this again. In fact, I still want to be with you. Wow. What kind of idolatry does Samson have for women? That, especially Delilah, he views her so much higher than his own commitment to his people and to God. And so he continues to stay with her, and he eventually succumbs to this emotional manipulation of Delilah. And he tells her his secret, and then he doesn't realize that God leaves him. And so this shows the numbing effect of sin, that the more we sin, the more we continue to engage in sinful behaviors, the less we realize how far we have come from God. This is true for me as it's true for anyone, is that we often tend to rationalize or try to say, well, it's okay if I do this because God has made this promise to me. Well, God actually has wanting us to be obedient to him. He's wanting Samson to be obedient to him. He's wanting us to follow what the Lord has taught us through Jesus, and yet we tend to rationalize our disobedience, saying, well, it's okay, God is still going to use us. And yes, we do see through Samson, and we see throughout history that God does use people to bring about his purposes, even though their character is suspect. We do see that. But that is no excuse for disobedience. God wants a people that he can trust with his kingdom, and he cannot trust Samson with his kingdom. He cannot trust me with his kingdom unless I learn to be obedient to the call of Jesus. So Samson doesn't realize that the Lord has left him, and he is now their slave. His heart was gouged out by his own sin, and now his eyes are gouged out. And yet he finally realizes the source of his strength. He prays and says, God, please give me strength one last time. And he destroys this temple, and he destroys more people in his final act than his life previously. So that is the death of Samson. His sin has caused this great, great consequence for him, but he is still used by God. God sovereignly is orchestrating events through flawed people to bring about his purposes. Now, the next section we read is these events that happened before in the earlier times of the Judges. And we read about this exchange between Micah and his mom. His mom curses whoever stole money from him. And then he's like, well, I did it. And so then they make these household gods out of the silver. And they find a Levite, and they make this Levite become the priest. And so they're doing this sort of DIY religion. So he's recognizing, he actually says Yahweh in this. Yahweh, I praise you, Yahweh, but he's bowing down to a shrine made of man. Again, highlighting the fact that they have no idea who God is, and they have no idea his commandments that he has given. Then you have this tribe of Dan that is frustrated with its inheritance. They have not yet settled down, and they butcher this very peaceful land, and they rebuild it, and they steal this priest and all the household gods from Micah and Ephraim, and they do it, and they say, hey, there's angry people in our midst, so you don't want it to anger us more. And so then Micah leaves with his people, and this Levite and the household gods go with Dan to this land. We see that there's this religious syncretism that has taken hold in Israel, where they say the name of Yahweh, but their practices are so much more aligned with the Canaanite religion. And unfortunately, that plagues us as well. Many of us will say the term karma. Oh, that's karma. That's karma being repaid. That's Hindu, right? That's Hinduism. And so we'll say Jesus, and we'll also apply Hinduistic beliefs to our own religion, and we'll say, well, God doesn't require me to follow all these things. He'll judge me, and everything will be okay. Well, that's Samson. And so what we see through this chapter is that we are actually more alike with Samson and with the people of Dan and with Micah than we would like to admit. And so the challenge for us today is to look towards Jesus and say, purify my heart. See if there's any unrighteous way within me and help me to live more like you would call me to. So that is our challenge. I hope you enjoy the reading today. God bless you.